It's not exactly a secret that Hollywood for like the past 14 or so years has been obsessed with just pillaging, some might say molesting our favorite childhood IPs, whether they be pointless remakes of classic 80s movies or years after making like a random sequel. Hollywood is trying to milk literally every single IP in existence as much as it possibly can until the thing is run dry. Like, they made a Fall Guy remake. The Fall Guy. Literally, who has ever heard of this? Now, that's not to say that doing this is inherently a bad thing. I mean, Cobra Kai, for example, is a show that most Karate Kid fans love, and they feel it actually adds on to the lore, and it even makes people look and appreciate the original Karate Kid movies differently. However, in certain sections of Hollywood, it kind of feels like they're starting to run into dead ends, and it is very interesting what's currently going on. Let's take Star Wars, for example. Everybody loves Star Wars, don't they? Everybody loves all the Disney era Star Wars movies, don't they? We all love Star Wars. I mean, listen, whether you like the Disney era Star Wars stuff or you dislike the Disney era Star Wars stuff, the reality is that the franchise is not in the greatest place. When you look at the sequel trilogy, it's incredibly divisive. They actually started off decently well with their shows on Disney Plus. Everybody loves the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, but almost everything, I mean, with the exception of Andor, has been critically panned or incredibly divisive. And there was an article that came out that talks about the current state of Lucasfilm and how they feel about Star Wars and sort of all the struggles that they're having trying to get new movies made. I actually talked about it on my second channel where I talk about movies and stuff mostly. You should check it out. Link in the description down below and stuff like that. I'm doing the YouTube thing where I plug my content. Look at that. I'm learning. But by far the funniest part about that article is when they talk about a source that described Star Wars as a nostalgia-based enterprise, and they are running out of ways to create nostalgia. That is just such a hilarious way to think about your IP, and just such a hilarious situation to be in, because they're not wrong. Disney has kind of run the gamut dry. They've kind of milked all of the classic original trilogy material for what it's worth. Like, most of their fan favorite characters from the original trilogy are dead, tragically, and I don't want to make light of this, both fictionally and in real life. So if they make a sequel trilogy, they can't really bring back Mark Hamill or Harrison Ford or Carrie Fisher as the original trio. I also feel like there's diminishing returns when it comes to stuff like this, where they bring in a creepy, de-aged CGI plastic sex doll looking at Luke Skywalker. Like, it was fine for that one scene in The Mandalorian, but like, I really don't want to see like a full-on movie with creepy, de-aged, goofy, plastic sex doll looking at Luke Skywalker. I personally don't want that. I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority there. But even at that, just the general presence of a lot of these characters end up feeling less special the more we see them. Like, I don't want to spoil anything about Star Wars Outlaws necessarily, but all I'll say is that there's a moment in that game where there is a popular Star Wars character that shows up in it, and they try to make it super dramatic. They're clearly expecting the fans to be like, oh my god, I can't believe this character is here right now. But it's a character that has shown up so much in Star Wars media throughout the past few years that it's like, I genuinely couldn't have cared less that he was in it. Oops, sorry, I spoiled the gender. And I just find it so genuinely entertaining to think about the executives at Lucasfilm that are going like, oh no, what are we gonna do? We can't keep on molesting Star Wars anymore. We're gonna have to create original movies within this universe. We're gonna have to create new likable characters. We're gonna have to create new original stories. Oh no, how we can't possibly do that. Please, we need more ideas. How can we possibly milk nostalgia more? And the reality is that they just have to make good movies. Like, Andor is by far the best Star Wars thing that has ever been made. And it's not because a stupid, nostalgic character showed up for 5 seconds. It's because it was a really well-crafted series with characters that we cared about, with stakes that mattered. Like, it was just a good show. Your priorities should be making great Star Wars movies. It shouldn't be trying to think of new ways to emotionally manipulate your audience. Now listen, while Star Wars might be cooked from the nostalgia perspective, there's one other area in Hollywood where I truly have to ask, what are we even doing anymore? And I'm, of course, talking about the live-action animated movie remake. Now, Disney has gone through and remade almost all of their classic animated movies in live action. And this whole practice has always felt really weird to me. Like, I just don't really get the appeal at the end of the day. Because it's literally just, hey, you know that thing that you like? What if it was with real people? Okay, I guess, I don't know. Like, is there any other selling point here? Like, nope. It's just thing you recognize, but now in real life. Does that make the visuals or the storytelling any better? Nope. In fact, in many cases, it's even worse. And that's ultimately the main problem with all of this stuff. When I think about what I personally like out of art and like why I even consume it in the first place, at the end of the day, I just want to see the expression of an artist. I want to see somebody that's passionate about what they're doing, whether it be a book, whether it be a painting, whether it be a movie, a TV show, a radio drama. I just want to see somebody give me an expression of themselves. And that kind of thing really only comes from art that they're genuinely passionate about making. That is where good art is born from. When I look at these live action Disney remakes, it's just very obvious to me that these movies are not born out of genuine artistic passion with a genuine desire to retell these stories. They're just very clearly born out of Disney going, hey, we want a safe bet at the box office. Hey, Guy Ritchie, can you direct an Aladdin movie in live action? And Guy Ritchie was just kind of like, I guess? And I think that's ultimately where we get just these products that are so soulless and just so devoid of any kind of passion or genuineness or humanity. But at least when it comes to these Disney live action remakes, at least these are movies that are like over 20 years old. I mean, you know, a lot of these are like borderline fairy tales in and of themselves. Like, can we really get mad at somebody for doing a remake of Cinderella? I don't know, like, whatever. It's so old at this point. But now we're getting to a point where the distance between the original movie and the live action remake is shrinking very significantly. Like, I saw this trailer for a live action How to Train Your Dragon movie. And I feel like this might be an unpopular take, but I got even more turned off by it when I saw that Toothless literally just looks like the dragon from the movie. There's something about the fact that it literally looks like they got that real life actor to just stand next to the animated version of the dragon. It just really adds to the whole soullessness of it all and just to the whole why. of it all. But none of these projects come even close to feeling as pathetic and desperate as the Moana live action remake. At least with How to Train Your Dragon. At least with, all the other live action remakes. They're remaking things in franchises that are done. Like, they weren't actively making Aladdin animated movies. They weren't actively making Little Mermaid movies. The How to Train Your Dragon trilogy has been completed. I just watched Moana 2, like, a couple days ago. And minor spoiler alert, I guess, but, at the end of Moana 2, they tease a third movie. This is an ongoing franchise. How are we already getting the live action adaptation? And the basic answer is that Disney is kind of running out of movies to do live action remakes of. I mean, that's just the reality of it. This image is by far the worst thing that I'm going to show in this video. The Rock as Maui. I mean, first of all, no offense to The Rock. I don't want to seem ageist, but he's too old to play live action Maui. It looks bizarre. It just does. Obviously he has a wig on because, bald. And is it just me, or is he wearing a muscle suit? It doesn't look real to me. Am I mistaken here? Is he just wearing like a tattoo sleeves or whatever? And it's not a muscle suit? But I mean, listen, that image of The Rock as a live action Maui is just the definition of what are we doing as a society? Nay, a species. I mean, pretty soon we're going to get to the point where like a fresh, like not technically not original movie, but this is based off of a book, but for all intents and purposes, a fresh original movie like The Wild Robot is going to get made and is going to be relatively successful. And then literally the next year, they're going to be like, and here's the live action version of The Wild Robot. Because Hollywood is quite literally running out of viable IP to make lazy remakes out of. So yeah, at this point, I am kind of fascinated to see like where Disney and other studios that are just literally running out of things to mine are going to look in the next 5 to 10 years. Like, are we going to truly continue down this path of getting things like a Moana remake when it is an active franchise that is still telling its story? Are we really going to go down that path, or are we going to maybe potentially go down the path of Hollywood going like, you know what? We should probably start making more viable intellectual properties. I don't know. Probably the former, if we're being completely honest. But I don't necessarily want this to be like a doomer video. Like, this is just pointing at certain segments of Hollywood, pointing our finger and going, ha 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 ha, you're a silly goose. Because the reality is that a lot of people like to say that, oh, Hollywood doesn't make anything original anymore. Oh, everything in Hollywood sucks. There's nothing for me to see, or blah, 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 blah. And that's honestly nonsense. Like, I just know for a fact that the people that say that kind of thing haven't seen Challengers, haven't seen Late Night with the Devil, haven't seen The Substance. Like, Hollywood makes plenty of original movies, and y'all just don't go see them. Right? Like, we can sit here and mock Disney all we want, but these live action remakes make literal billions of dollars. Like, this entire video, I've been mockingly going, why are we doing this? When the reality, the answer is money. This is what the general audiences want. And there's nothing that I can realistically do about it. But if it is something that frustrates you, just go watch the plenty of great original movies that get made every year. Or I don't know, maybe you could have watched Furiosa, which was a fantastic prequel movie that came out this year. Still a franchise movie, but actually good, with genuine artistic intent behind it, with genuine passion behind it, with genuine humanity behind it. Was this entire video a ploy and a ruse to be able to get you to the end of it to be able to tell you to your face, look you in the eyes, and say, fuck you for not watching Furiosa. You shall rue this day because of you not watching Furiosa. We're not going to get any more George Miller Mad Max movies. Maybe. Perhaps. Fuck you.